Man, nobody responded to the Wilkesboro thing yet. So.
Nobody ever does. Nobody ever responds to the topic of the week.
Man, maybe,
Do they?
maybe we just need a little more interesting topic, maybe.
Well, I mean,
But it doesn't get more interesting in North Wilkesboro this week. The eyes of the racing world will be on North Wilkesboro.
And that's a great point, because we go to the hotline, and here we go. One of our best friends of the show, I mean, my man, and I'm having a coffee for him this evening because he's my coffee buddy. Love this guy. I mean, so much insight here with the way that NASCAR is, was, and will be. Let's welcome back to the Revved Up Sports Show, # Real Race Talk, our friend Joe Dan Bailey. Joe Dan, how big is this for NASCAR in your opinion that we're going back, dude? We're going back to Wilkesboro, and that's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, sorry about calling in early. I heard y'all say
I'm glad you did.
People with their head up their ass. I thought that was my cue. Hey, Rodney, right now going to Wilkesboro this week. You've heard me talk about Darlington before, and I'm always geeked up on Darlington. But we tested Wilkesboro probably about 6 weeks ago, and that was my first time back actually inside the place. And I'll be honest with you, man, it's hard to sleep right now. It really is.
Dude, I bet.
I have not been this excited. I've not been this excited to get back to a racetrack in a long time. And going and testing and hanging out up there was even just amped it up. It was like snorting a Red Bull or something. You just over the top far as just putting acceleration on it. Cool place. Last year, a friend of mine went up there and ran that late model race. One of the boys that works in the office, he's got a limited stock that runs over in Hickory, and Patrick went up and ran the race up there, and me and him talked about it, and when we did, we talked. Some of the trends were still the same from back in the 90s, and
Wow.
I'm really looking forward to going up there and spend a little time at that track. I'm actually think I'm going to go for the Cars Tour Wednesday night. A lot of my friends are running up there in that thing, and that's what racers do, right? They spend their off days going to the racetrack.
That's right.
So, Dan, as somebody that saw North Wilkesboro from its heyday to the way that it used to be, when I say used to be, the last 10 or 15 years, when you see it in person and saw the buildings falling down and the trees growing up with the track and stuff like that, it had to be really cool to see that. I mean, granted, $100 million from the North Carolina state government goes a long way, but that took a lot of vision to get that place into the shape it is right now.
Yeah. The people, the Save the Speedway people, they've been after this dream for a long time. They really have, and it's definitely a lot of vision. The funny part about it is, you talk about when it gets back into shape. The first thing I said when I walked in there, I looked over there, and the main concession stand is still there, and they had a lift that would, late in the later years they had a lift. I think they put it in the early 90s, where you drove your car onto this lift and it took you on top of the concession stand, and it never worked. And I thought to myself, well, maybe 30 years later, this thing will finally work. They got the technology to get it going, because back then it seemed like it always broke down about halfway up. It took forever, but we weren't in the tight TV windows. The track itself, I drove around it, my truck, and the track's not a lot off for the wear than what it was back then. We're on different tires now, different vehicles. The track's you're gonna have a lot of tire fall off. 30 laps, it wears down 2 seconds. And that makes a great show. It really does. I think a great race, because in that way it plays into pit strategy a little bit more. Now for the Cup side, they're only going to have they're going to start on set and have 3 land to start the race. So that gives them 1 at each stage, or what do they call it, break.
Yeah.
And then 1 for the final session. They're running 200 laps. And anyway, let's see, there will be an all-star caution around lap 100. So anyway, with that, it's going to put a little strategy into it. we sat there and watched the Wilforce test up there. Guys out there on a 30-lap run. A car rejoined him out there on fresh tires, and in a matter of, it takes 20 seconds to get around there. So, like, in a matter of 10 laps, he had unlapped himself because he was running 2 seconds a lap faster than what the old car was. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. There's going to be a lot of strategy going to come into play. It's not going to be one of those things every time the yellow comes out, you're going to be able to dive down pit road.
Yeah, that's right. So, Joe Dan, I mean, we can talk about everything that's going to happen, with the Cars Tour and everything, but for you, I mean, we've talked to you so many times here. You're one of our proudest folks that has achieved the dream and done all of this. Talk about some of your best memories of going to Wilkes. Back in the day when it was just a regular part of the schedule, and I think that's what a lot of the new fans don't realize is we used to go here a couple times a year. Talk about some of the old days there for Wilkesboro that really kind of come to mind for you.
Well, I live in Statesville, North Carolina, which we're about 40 minutes south of Wilkesboro. When I say 40 minutes south, I had a back way out of there where I could take a right. And I'd going down this dirt road and cutting through the country over hills, and I end up on another road, and then I run 2-lane down there for a good while, and it ended up putting me back out to Statesville so I could leave after the race. And I was home in 40 minutes, which that was always a cool thing for me personally, because you got to stay in your own bed and that. But in Wilkesboro was kind of the home track because Charlotte just it's too much glitz and glamour. Wilkesboro is what racing's about. But anyway, we had some cool experiences up there. A lot of fun. I drove there one year. Nice. And drove my dad's car. And, well, let me rephrase that. I tried to drive my dad's car there one year. Yeah, it works out like that sometimes. No, it's pretty cool. That was 80, I think it was 88 or 89. And went up there and I had Herb Nab, which was a longtime Junior Johnson crew chief. Herb Nab, was my crew chief up there. And with that, Herb had he had a good setup because that's one of the juniors' cars. And anyway, Brandon Baker was up there, Buddy Baker's son, and he was the same age as me, and he was in one of Buddy's nice cars, and I'm in my dad's car, and which was just a car. It wasn't a short track, it wasn't an intermediate, it was what we had. And anyway, it was I remember in practice, a few things I remember. I'm out there, and DW took me around the track before practice and showed me the line, showed me how to get down into the corner and all that. And anyway, I remember driving, and Darrell was driving the Tide car at that time. Yeah. So I come out of 4, and I throttle up hard, and I'm running down the front straightaway. It's a downhill straightaway. And I get down into 1, and here's a 17 tucked down in on me. And he, and I'm like, oh, and I just turtle up because I'm like, this is going to hurt really bad, thinking he's going to run over me. Because I know there's no way I'm driving in the corners deeper than Darrell Waltrip. Yeah. And anyway, so I kind of turtle up, and I turn left, hit the brake, turn left, and do everything like what I was supposed to do. And coming off, he motors right on around me and goes on. I'm like, oh, wow, he's a professional. Okay. And then in qualifying, I went out and I ran a 20:31. Remember that number when you're watching qualifying this weekend. I ran a 20:31. 20:31. Bill Elliott sat on the pole at a 19:81. He was a half a second faster than me. And anyway, so I missed the show. It took a 20:27 to make the show. So 27 to 31, I missed making the race. But it still outran Brandon in his dad's car. That's right. And anyway, so we went up there and we tested with the trucks. We went back and the Cup cars tested up there, and then the Wilforce cars tested up there. And I looked at all the lap times afterwards, and I realized none of them still ran fast as I did that day. Damn. So I've been giving them a bunch of shit about that. So I run 3 cents faster than you in my dad's old car. So y'all better get on the stick. Yeah.
I love that. That's awesome.
But and then working it. Probably my favorite story of all time up there was my friends, some of my beer drinking friends, they give me crap because they call it a 3-car story. So anyway, my 3-car story from Wilkesboro is we're up there, and I think it's a spring race, an April race, and it gets cold in the North Carolina mountains in April. Yeah. So anyway, Richard decides that Will Lynn and myself, which Will did tires before I did, and then I did the tires up there, are not going to come up to the track on Friday. He's going to get chocolate to do tires. Oh, I shouldn't have said chocolate because anonymously. Okay, another flavor that's opposite of vanilla.
There you go.
Anyway,
there you go.
So,
there you go.
Yeah, right.
Or
anyway,
how about Danny?
So,
how about Danny?
Yeah,
Danny.
There you go.
there you go. Yeah.
Anyway, which I hope he gets well. I heard he's sick, but anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
So we get something like 12 sets of tires on Friday, and back then you ran. First of all, I think only 36 cars made the show at a short track race for the Cup races back then. They didn't run the full 43. But what they did was they qualified 20 or 25 on day one, and then on Saturday morning they'd come back and qualify the rest of the field. So there was 2 rounds of qualifying. So anyway, we missed the show on Friday. I don't know what's going on. Will don't know what's going on. It's not like we had cell phones and all that stuff back then. So all we hear them is they call out the time. We see that Earnhardt's going to be bumped from Wilkesboro. He's not that good of a short track driver anyway.
That's right.
So with that, I'm supposed to go up Saturday morning. So I get up there Saturday morning, and I look at the stack of tires, and every tire has been on the race car. So to find out, every run they put on a fresh set of tires, which is not our normal deal. Matter of fact, after that weekend, they started the rule where you only got 3 sets of tires before the race. So I go in and I tell Richard that morning, I said, hey, I'm going to need to buy some more tires. We've used up all of our tires for qualifying. So we get new tires, and we only get a couple sets. That's all we're going to need that morning. But it's, like I said, it gets cold in the North Carolina mountains. It's 25 degrees out.
Damn.
There's ice out, and it is cold, and we're at the racetrack, and that's part of it.
Yeah.
So we've got to qualify that morning, like about 11 o'clock or something, and know it's going to be on cold tires, old track. So I think it was Richard. I'm not sure who came up with the idea. I'm pretty sure it was Richard. We brought the tires into the hauler. We shut all the doors on the hauler, and I turn on the little salamander heater, salamander heater like it is, and have that fired up and plugged in. And I've got a infrared gun, and I've got the tires stuck up against the salamander heater, and it's blowing in the center part of it. Now, all the fumes and vapors are blowing in there and everything else, and I'm sweating when it's 25 degrees out.
Yep. And
when I take the gun and the gun gets up to 90 degrees, and I'll take that one from the front and put it to the back, to the next and forward. And I did that for probably about 45 minutes.
Damn.
Finally, Earnhardt come out of the lounge yelling at me, and got out of the hauler because it started smoking him out up in the front. And he left. I think he went over there and got his rental car, or not rental car, but his car.
Yeah.
And left out there, and we sit there and heated up the tires, and the tires were so hot that it was leaving marks on the cabinets when I was moving because it was tire marks on the cabinet. So anyway, qualifying time, we go out and we bolted on. We go out. There wasn't a lot of people that was going to run again that day because everybody knew it was going to be colder.
Right.
So they were standing on their time from day one. You could option to stand on your day one time. Mm-hmm. So we go out, and Earnhardt sets a new track record that morning because the heat already in the tires, and there was nothing illegal about it. There was nothing that said you couldn't do it. Now, you couldn't have blankets, but there wasn't nothing that said you couldn't warm it up. It's all about the gray areas, right? So anyway, he's starting 26th in the race, and but he's got a new track record starting 26th. So now we went through all these tires, and I come back in, and I tell Richard, I'm like, hey, I got to have tires for the race. And he goes, what about all those tires we used yesterday? Earnhardt looks over at me, and he goes, Julian, I don't care if I got to have my credit card out the window every time I come down pit road. I want stickers. I said, yes, sir. Okay. And, that was all there was to it. I think we went through 22 sets of tires that day. Couldn't tell you where we finished, to be honest with you. But that was a great. It was a fun day, setting new track record and doing all that stuff.
I love it.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool. We did that. And talk about chocolate earlier.
Sure. Yep.
So y'all guys have never met my little brother, but my little brother is a fishing captain down out of Padre Island, Port Aransas, Corpus Christi area. His name's Kirk, and he's a bullshitter. I mean, he'll and not only has he captured Jaws, he skinned him and made a pair of boots out of him and sold it to George Strait. Okay, I mean, this guy will tell a story. So anyway, we're up there getting ready the week before Wilkesboro, and Kirk comes and he stays with me for a week. Like I said, this back in the 90s, and so I'm working. So I tell Kirk, I said, hey, go down and help Chocolate out in the warehouse. Chocolate's out there arranging something, whatever he does. Anyway, and he was doing that, so Kirk goes out to help him. So at the end of the day, Chocolate comes up to me and goes, Joe Dan, and my little brother was born in the early 90s. No, not the early 90s. Excuse me, let's see, I'm gonna say 70s. He's about 7-8 years younger than me. So anyway, No, he's younger than that. Hell, 12 years younger than me. Anyway, I don't know the kid's age. He's a lot younger than I am. And with that, he's out there working with Kirk or with Chocolate, and Chocolate comes up to me at the end of the day, and he goes, Jody, how old's your brother? And I said, he's 17, 18, something like that. And he goes, well, that little shit. And I said, well, why? What did he do to you? And he goes, oh, well, he had me going about this whole thing about when he was in Vietnam and all the stuff he said. So Chocolate told him, he said, when you come in the warehouse, you can come, but you can't talk about anything you see in here because it's all our secrets.
That's
and
right.
Kirk told him, well, when I was in Vietnam, I seen stuff I couldn't even tell my mom about. It was hell over there and all this stuff. So anyways, the Chocolate's going to pay him back. And unfortunately, blood's thick, but when you get to play a prank on somebody, it thins out real quick. So Chocolate has him up at Wilkesboro, and Chocolate, and Kirk's trying to help out, and Chocolate tells him, he goes, hey, man, go get a long weight. We need a long weight for the car.
Mm-hmm.
And Kirk goes, a long weight? Well, where'd I get that from? He goes, oh, go over and ask those boys over there on the 33. So he goes over there, and they tell him, said, yeah, hang right here for a few minutes, and they come back, and they're like, well, we ain't got one, and we ain't got one long enough for you. So they send him all over. Finally, Kirk goes over, and they send him over to the 11, and he goes up to Junior Johnson, not knowing who Junior Johnson is.
Oh, my goodness.
And he goes up to Junior, and he goes, sir, they sent me over here saying y'all have a long wait. Well, Junior not really knowing the prank or anything. He goes, hell, I don't know. Go talk to Brewer or Mike Hill or one of those boys. And they sent him over to the parts truck. So anyway, he spent 2 hours running around for a long wait. Finally, Chocolate went over and told him, he goes, yeah, I think that wait was long enough. And he goes, what do you mean? He goes, that's what a long wait is. You've just been sitting there, now you're waiting for a long time.
I love it.
So,
I love that.
Yeah, it's that, and and then you had the time up there when I think it was, I can't remember if it was Rudd or Earnhardt spun out Bodine there at the end of the race.
Yep.
And the best part about that was, and I ain't got nothing against Yankees except they're Yankees, and and I mean that in the nicest way. I got a lot of friends of mine. One of my best friends is from up in New York.
Yep.
But anyway, so somebody's in victory lane. I can't remember if it was Earnhardt or Rudd, but all I remember is the Bodine family women. Jeff's wife, Kathy.
Yeah.
Kathy.
That's right.
Yep. And the two sister-in-laws, and they're outside they're outside victory lane just yelling at them, cussing them like a dog. You know, I mean, it was an early version of Bowman Gray over there. You know, they call that the Madhouse.
Mm-hmm.
But this was an early version of that. They were going on and on. The only thing could have been better if AJ Foyt would have walked in and punched him in the face. Okay. So there's been a lot of cool things that happen up there. A lot of great memories. That was the place I ate my first Carolina hot dog. I didn't know that they put coleslaw on a hot dog until I got that. Yeah, that's the thing up here, chili and coleslaw. Yeah. I had no idea with it.
I've heard that.
Yeah, and they're good actually, and so that's what you got up there at that. That was way before the Martinsville hot dog was famous.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, going back to Wilkesboro this weekend, it's going to be a great show. Like I said, the truck series has an extra set of tires.
Yeah,
we're running. I think we're running. We've got a 70 lap segment, a 140 lap segment, and then 250 at the end. So we got to go 110. We're going to have two sets of tires for the 110, so it's not going to have to split that in half. We're going to be able to put two sets on in that last stage.
Mm-hmm.
The test up there, that they left the asphalt, but when they put safer barriers in, they brought the safer barriers off, and they put concrete out away from the wall. Well, at first they didn't have safer barriers on the straightaways.
Mm.
So when one of our drivers got up there, he found grip up on that concrete.
Oh, wow.
So they were running all the way up against the wall, and that was the way to get around there. He was a lot faster than the other cars, and then the other guys seen him do it, and then that took off. And then they came back and decided they're going to put safer barriers up there. So now, even since the test, it's changed the groove. It is going to have a characteristic like IRP, if you ever watched IRP.
Yeah.
If you ever watched one of the keys to that place, and Harvick was the first one to do it in his Busch car, was he would put the left front down below the apron, and it would unload the wedge, so it would help it rotate in the middle of the corner. And Wilkesboro has an apron like that in 3 that'll help the car rotate a little bit more when it gets tight. So I'm thinking that people are going to find that, and running across that apron at about the 2/3 mark is going to be critical. The other thing that's really cool about that, and this goes back to back in the day, was I hate that term, back in the day. It goes back to the old times.
I love that term. I love that term. I love that term.
Yeah, it just gets wore out.
I know.
Anyway.
I know.
Yeah, because, I mean, back in the day, we didn't make crap. We worked our tail off all the time, and the racing wasn't as good as what it is not right now. Now, would I do it all over again? Sign me up. Okay.
Yeah, no shit.
But anyway, so Wilkesboro is very unique because the front straightaway goes downhill and the back straightaway goes uphill. So with that, back in the I'm going to say the late 80s, early 90s, the gear choice up there was either a 567 or a 583. And I might be getting too technical on that, but that's a huge difference in gear for up there. So the 567 was a better long run gear when your tires wore out.
Right.
But that 83 would really take off well. Well, the thing about it was we ran the bias plies when we were up there, and with the bias plies, when you come off of turn 4, there's like a slight hump as you're going straight out towards the wall, as it transitions to downhill, because the corner is pretty flat, but then the going downhill, so you run over this hump, and if you throttle up too hard, it pisses off the right rear. It takes about 5 laps to get that right rear back underneath you.
Right.
So that was one thing you always had to worry about. So I was talking to Patrick, the guy that ran the late model race up there last year, and I said, can you still make the right rear mad off of 4? And he goes, yes. And it blew my mind, because I'm sitting there running, I think I'm conserving my stuff, and I start to go, and about the time I spin the right rear off of 4, and it took 5 laps to get underneath me, and I'm like, there you go.
There it is.
So, you know, you still have that, and I remember. You remember Dave Marcus?
Oh,
yeah.
How can you forget that guy? The boots.
Right.
I mean, the boots.
Yeah, the king of the buffet at the Thunderbird.
There it is.
And they're in Darlington, but also, he was. I mean, Dave Marcus was harder to pass than a kidney stone.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Yeah, he was tough.
Yeah.
And anyway, he lost a cylinder up at Wilkesboro, and and the tires always fell off pretty heavy up there. So when he lost he had gas. He'd put gas in. Caution come out. Everybody got tires, and then another caution come out after that. And Marcus stayed out when everybody else pitted, so he ended up inheriting the front of the front row.
Right.
And he was down a cylinder, so it almost made it like throttle control because he couldn't gas up hard.
Right.
And I think he led like 60 or 70 laps one year up there, down a cylinder, because he was able to keep his foot in it, roll the center, and throttle back up with the cylinder down.
Right.
And that was it. It was the best engine tune you could do up there was disconnect the secondary. Always, yeah. I always said that it's like you need a tire guy at Talladega the same way you need an engine guy at Wilkesboro.
I bet. Yeah.
The best thing you can do is leave both of them at home, because at Talladega you're going to run 500 miles on a set, and at Wilkesboro you want the worst torque engine you got, because you can sit there and just stay out front with it.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how the characteristic is now, how the bias ply tire reacts up there.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah. I think the tire is going to be the biggest thing, with all that, with that worn out thing, racetrack and all that, the character. Joe Dan, lastly, I mean, for you, through all of your travels and everything that you've done, how cool to get to go back there and be a part of this. I mean, that has to be for you. You've had a hell of a career, and it just keeps growing. How big for you to go back there and be a part of this?
Rodney, this is, in all reality, this is huge for me. My bosses, Andy Graves, come out last week and told me, he's like, we need to wear the shirts because he worked for Gordon's when I worked at Earnhardt's and then later at Penske, and he said we ought to wear our shirts that we last wore up there. Oh. I'm trying to work a deal right now, and where the Toyota teams on Saturday are going to have the old school signboard out there on pit road, dude, where the guy's holding it up. It's very nostalgic. For me. Wilkesboro just represents just about everything in North Carolina for me. Yep. My wife, my family, this is where it's at. This is home. I love Texas and I love Houston. I love Pearland, but this has been home for me for a long time, and to be able to go back up there and race is an incredible feeling. You can't believe how proud and how excited I am about going back and doing this, and Dale Jr. has just been the guiding stone on this, and what he asks for he gets, and this has happened, and I do feel like this is going to end up being a points race in the future. I don't know about for everybody. I don't know how that's going to play out, but I feel that way. And I think it will be, and I think it's right that it's going to happen that way. And it's I don't think you're going to have bad reviews coming out of here. I think everybody's going to love it. I really do. Yeah. The group up there has really worked hard on the logistics of getting people in and out. Parking was always a nightmare. That's one of the reasons why that place failed. They didn't have room for parking, and they couldn't put more grandstands in to pay the TV deal. Yep. With it, but for me to go back up there, I am. I'm tore up over it. Dude. I really am.
Yeah, I bet.
If we were going up tomorrow, it wouldn't be too soon.
Oh, so one last question before we cut you loose. What's the bigger deal for NASCAR? Going back to Wilkesboro or moving the Southern 500 back to Labor Day weekend?
Southern 500's Labor Day weekend. Sorry. That's huge. That's the big race there. I think that was a shame to ever to leave it.
Yep.
But with that being said, I'm glad it's back. But and y'all heard me say it many times. I love Darlington.
Yep.
Southern 500. I've never won a Southern 500 as a pit crew member, and I never won a Wilkesboro race as a pit crew member. So, those are both two that Wilkesboro's a track that I've never been to victory lane at. I've done it and been to victory lane at Darlington. So there's a lot there. I think our boys in the trucks, Corey Heim, Taylor and Tanner Gray's going to do good. Stuart Friesen's been running well.
Yep.
I think we've got a lot in the bag for him, but man, I can't wait to get there.
Oh man,
I wish we could have done this sooner as far as going back there, but I'm glad it's happening.
Yeah, me too. And I'm happy for you, my man. So excited that you guys get to go back and just all of your everything you've done and again, I mean, your friendship and everything that you've been to this show. JD, thanks for taking the time and being a part of this. Man, I'm so excited. You guys go have fun this weekend. I mean, live it up. I mean, that's whatever happens on the track is going to happen, but man, just go soak this thing up, dude. I'm so happy for you.
Well, I hope you can tell the passion in my voice.
Oh, dude. I know.
With it and I'm going to come over to the media center. Y'all guys aren't there. It's y'all are missing out.
I know. Yeah, it sucks. Yeah, we have nothing, JD.
Yeah,
all right, man. Take care. Let's stay in touch. Keep me posted throughout the week and weekend, my friend. Thanks for jumping on here.
All right. I'll talk to y'all guys later.
You bet, man. Take
care.
You bet. You bet.
Bye.
There he goes. Dude. I'm like in tears listening to him talking about this.
I mean, he's excited about it, and he should be.
He should be. I mean,
it's badass to be going back to North Wilkesboro.
I mean, for that, for NASCAR fans, I mean, all the folks that want to be pissed and everything at NASCAR, this is the NASCAR week, not just the weekend, to indulge. And it starts tomorrow. I mean, because we got late model racing, all of that happening. I mean, that's like